Welcome to the Lost and Found podcast. I'm your host, Amanda. Join me each week as I rediscover my life's meaning, my passions, and my place in this world after leaving behind the only dream I've ever known. If you are dealing with self-loss, identity changes, career transitions, or you are still trying to figure out your life's purpose, then you're not alone. Join me. Wanderers are always welcome. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Lost and Found. This is your host, Amanda. We are now talking to our good friend, Justin Kershaw. He's a former NFL player for the Carolina Panthers. He's a father, entrepreneur, and the owner of So Strong Food, where he and his family strive to promote wellness and sustainable nutrition for all. Everybody, please welcome Justin to the show. So good to have you here, Justin.
Yeah, you made me sound a lot better than what I really am, but thank you for the kind introduction, Amanda. I'm so happy to be here.
You are so welcome. I'm sure it's all very true, though. Yeah, it's an honor to have you here, and I'm so excited to dive into all of your insights and expertise and lessons learned and anything you feel like you could share with our people here on the Lost and Found podcast would be so beneficial. So for the listeners who may not have had an opportunity to hear from you before or try any of your food from So Strong, can you kind of give us a bit of a background about who you are and what you're trying to do right now in the nutrition and supplement space?
Absolutely. So my claim to fame is I have 5 beautiful daughters, a lovely wife. We started dating when I was 16 years old in high school.
Oh,
We
wow.
live in we live in Columbus, Ohio. I played sports in high school, college, wanted to be a professional football player. I'm 39. I thought I would just now be retiring, but it didn't go that way. But I have started several businesses. I started my first business when I was 26, selling spine implants.
Oh, wow.
And then in 2020, I missed playing football and I really dove into doing CrossFit. Now, for those of you that don't know, CrossFit is like a cult, and I
Mhm.
was drinking the Kool-Aid. And part of the culture of CrossFit is low carbohydrate diets. Well, I felt terrible. I attributed it to me just getting older or being out of shape. Well, then I saw a study that the number one macronutrient for hormonal development is actually carbohydrates. And we had just had our third or fourth kid. She was eating low carb, got super unhealthily skinny. She incorporated carbs, started feeling a lot better. And then in my community, there's several people that I know that are very sick from diabetes, and I wanted to do something about it. Well, what really took us over the edge was I saw a McDonald's commercial with Travis Scott. Now I like McDonald's and I eat it every now and then. It
Yeah.
wasn't Chipotle or Whole Foods that was paying Travis Scott to promote their meals. It was McDonald's. So told my wife I was going to do something, came up with this idea to make a nutrition bar, started making it in my basement. The rest is history. And now I'm talking to the Amanda Powers. You have a great name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I get a lot of the Austin jokes a lot.
Mm.
If I have a Randy brother or whatever, and I'm like, no, no,
It's
I have a
awesome.
brother named Jackson who is also into CrossFit, and
Wow.
he's also a chef as well. So you guys could probably trade secrets together or tips and tricks. He's super into it, but he's not anti-carb by any means.
Good.
So he does really well with that. But I'm super intrigued because it sounds like you kind of moved from you got to get to be an athlete still, but you're
Mhm.
in a whole different world of how athleticism is viewed and nutrition is viewed because you train completely differently from being a football player to a CrossFitter. Did your wife do CrossFit as well? Is that also that impacted her too, or?
She didn't do it, but she
Mhm.
pushed me to do CrossFit because she heard about it. And actually, I thought I was a know-it-all and I wanted to go to a different CrossFit gym. She suggested the one that I'm a part of now
Mhm.
because the guy that started the gym, he actually won the CrossFit Games and now he's one of my best friends. And that would have never happened if it wasn't for my wife. So
Yeah,
she is the athlete in our family. She's had 5 kids, has a six pack, never works out,
yeah, that.
and was a long jumper. Yeah, so she's just a beast of a lady.
Yeah, I'd wanna hug her and just say, "Thank you for making the world a better place," because I don't know if I could do it. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
she
It's incredible.
It's incredible. Well, I know with your background you could do it, but she is like that's part of the reason why we started the brand is I'll get into it more, is just out of the respect of her, how fierce of a competitor and person she is. She's a great human being.
Yeah. Well, so during COVID, you're starting to watch all this kinda unfold. The nutrition's not going the way you wanted it to. Your wife probably isn't doing so hot, but you wanna help her out. So, what got you into thinking, "Why a nutritional bar?" You're an athlete, you coulda done a protein powder, you coulda done a sponsorship with another company, to not have to make it yourself. What was so important about you taking the initiative to make it and create this specific item?
Wow, that's a great question. I had started other businesses before, but I knew I wanted to make an impact. And food has just been, it was the staple of our family growing up.
Mhm.
Were always surrounded by the
Yeah.
table. My grandma made food all the time. I love food, if you can't see my waistline. um, but it was something that also gave me a competitive edge as an athlete. Well, being in CrossFit, the RX bar was very popular. And I thought it was, had really cool packaging and good ingredients. It used to be, but the product didn't taste good. And it hit me that people don't eat healthy because eating healthy doesn't taste good. And snacks, they're either they don't taste good at all or they're healthy. And my idea was, why don't you have both? Have something that's really tasty and that's functional.
Right, yeah, and you can take it with you anywhere. I know that that's, like, one of the big reasons my brother was a decathlete in high school and college, and so yeah, incredible athlete, and then now does the CrossFit powerlifting stuff,
Hmm.
but loves it. But we used to give him, I don't know if you guys have I don't know if Smoothie King still does this or not, but they were called Gold bars, and it was tiny little, like, circular looks very similar to what you've made, but what you've made probably is a little bit better. And that's what we would give him for the really high carbs right before he'd go out onto the field and stuff, and
Hmm.
that was just always a really big deal to make sure that he had exactly what he needed to perform at his best, and when you don't do it, it can be so detrimental, to
Yeah.
not your cognitive function, your physical function, your ability to sleep, yeah, and all that, and
Right.
recovery, especially.
Yeah. Recovery. Carbs have so much to do with brain function, with your muscles, with everything. We've ran into a problem with marketing because they demonize carbohydrates, and it's almost fixed in the mind of every American that I talk to, like, I'm staying away from carbs, but it's the right carbs that work. So when we started incorporating it into our diet, we felt a lot better. But also, it led me on, Amanda, that there's so much misinformation about food, and it's all driven by diet culture and ultimately money. These companies want to make a lot of money.
Mhm.
So we wanted to have a community view, and our goal was to make Columbus, Ohio synonymous with longevity with our
Oh,
company,
okay.
where we wanted to say, look, we want to create a company that's messaging, products, processes are so powerful that it can increase the life expectancy of people in Columbus, Ohio. And that's something that I forgot to add is the neighborhood my grandma lived in, it was 59 years old. You compare that to blue zones, which there's a lot of debate about blue zones, but you have to say these people are living way past the typical life expectancy, which is like 103 years old they're living to. So
Yeah.
you compare that with 59 years old, there was just something that we had to do about it.
That makes a lot of sense, and why not start with the people that are right around you, the people you care about? You want them to be as healthy and live as well as they possibly can, and I know longevity is a big catchphrase right now in the health and wellness kinda spaces, at least on social media. I
Hmm.
know I get a lot of
Yeah.
ads for, "You need to be fixing your mitochondria," and I'm like, "Cool, but the bottle's $700. I don't know if I can do that, but let me
Yeah.
find a better way and see what else I can do from a holistic standpoint." So it sounds like
Hmm.
you started with a nutrition bar, but the way that you went about developing it was to help everybody in lots of different ways. So I think that's amazing. Why I know in some of the marketing stuff that a
Hmm.
lot of it did seem to focus on working moms. And so I'm curious about why did you choose, even though the products, anybody can eat them, anybody can have them, why was it so important for you to champion your wife and working mothers and make that the center of your brand kind of target audience?
Yeah, that's a great question. That came out of me being lost, actually. So we had started the product, and I didn't really have a community around me that was asking me to make anything. I said, I'm going to make something that I would like, and I'm going to sell it to everyone else. Well, I did that. Um, Started making the product, and I realized that the places that reordered our product, or I would first give it away, and the
Mhm.
places that would request the product back, there were places with parents, but primarily mothers. Well, then we were approached by Whole Foods, and Whole Foods, they said, Justin, we like the taste of your product, but your packaging needs a lot of work. And that was very difficult to hear because I put so much into it.
Mhm.
And I made the mistake of hiring a graphic designer to do our packaging instead of hiring a packaging designer to do our packaging. And Whole Foods said, like, we're not going to take this product. And that hurt really bad.
Mm.
So I did some soul searching and I looked and I said, you know what? The data says that it's moms that are buying this bar. It's my wife's friends, places with moms. And then looking at my wife's story and seeing her life where she was a former athlete, then seeing her with 5 kids, I said, this being a mother is harder than any sport that she ever played at a high level. Being a mom is the toughest sport in the world. And I'll even say having 5 little girls, I think being a woman is the toughest sport in the world.
Yeah.
And
She was
so
doing a lot.
she's doing a lot. Yeah. And I think just I have 5 brothers, now having 5 daughters. It just showed me what women go
Mhm.
through in this world. Women are strong, women are tough, and they don't get enough credit. And so I said, look, I started this company because I wanted to extend longevity of people in Columbus, Ohio. I wanted to give people proper nutrition. If I'm selling to everybody, though, I'm not selling to anybody. How can I make a mission to support the toughest heroes in the world, which I believe are women and mothers? So that's how we started targeting specifically moms. Moms do most of the grocery shopping, and in most homes, moms are the ones buying the snacks for the kids. So we wanted to lovingly infiltrate the family with healthy food.
Oh, I think that's smart, right? If moms are the ones that are leading the charge for what we're
Mhm.
eating in the house, it's great to kinda integrate that with them, be like, "Here you go. You try this first. If you like it, I'm sure it's safe for your kids too. They'll like it as well." I love that you admitted, though, that you used it all based on research. You pivoted when you realized, like, the data is not telling me I need to sell it at these locations, but that this type of customer is willing to buy it, and therefore I can pivot and go in this other direction. I don't have to worry about, for whatever reason, maybe they weren't selling at the corner store, but they were selling at this daycare, and, like, maybe that made more sense just because that's where your customer was going more often, and so I think that that was
Mhm.
so smart to use that through the data, but
Thank
then
you.
also setting your own ego aside. Not every man can admit, like, "All right, I can't sell it to everyone. I should sell it to this target audience." And now that I've been in marketing for 3 years or so now, it's the the context of what I used to do in my past life is still, the skill sets are still relevant, but the type of people I have to talk to, the artists, the creatives, the graphic designers, they all need a specific target audience. That's how they
Yep.
create whatever it is that they're going to create. They need to understand the mind of whoever they're trying to sell to, and so that's so crucial, and I'm glad you pointed that out, that, like, you could take yourself out of that position, but then allow the rest of it to grow by not standing in your own way.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. It was difficult at first because I thought I created a product for meathead dads like myself, like guys that just wanted to, or your brother that wanted to stay in shape. But it was an opportunity where, oh, this brand, this product we've created is for moms. I think moms rule the world. They have the purchasing power. But even more with me and my daughters and seeing moms, juggling so much, I learned that being a mom is the toughest sport in the world. And if we can support these incredible people, why not?
Do you mind? I know we talked a little bit earlier, some of the products you might have with you. Do you wanna share those on screen or kind of
Sure.
explain what you sell? So that way we're sitting here talking about nutritional bars, but other people might be interested in what actually the options are. What do you have?
Yeah. So our first product was called the Mom on a Mission bar. And you kind of start off as a soap bar. You see it right there. And it is a gluten-free, carb, protein, fat bar. It has oats, pumpkin seeds, date-based coconut oil, cashews, and brown rice syrup. That's what we put in it. It's really good, healthy, gluten-free. But I made the happy mistake, I'll say, in giving a community a product they didn't ask for. And so what I learned through that is the community asked me to actually make the bars smaller. So that's when we came out with the bites. And these are mom oat bites. And then our community also said, can you make them completely allergy free? Because a lot of kids have nut allergies. So this is if you can kind of see it in here, this is a gluten free, nut free, dairy free oat bite. And it
Okay.
tastes really good. And all the products we make, we lead with taste because we realize from the beginning people won't eat stuff because it doesn't taste good.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I in a past life, I used to do, bodybuilding competitions, training,
Nice.
and so
Intense.
I went through a long period where all the trainers that I used to have, they would try and sell me whatever their product was or something like that, and so, like, of course, I'll buy the protein, I'll buy the creatine, whatever, because I think I need it, and if I realized if I don't like the taste, I will not finish the
Mm,
bottle. So, like, why
yep,
buy a product that is anywhere from $40 to $60 depending on the brand you're using? Like, it can be pretty expensive to get those things, and if you don't like it and you don't finish it, there's no point in getting it. So I
absolutely.
appreciate that where you're thinking ahead with the taste.
Thank you. You did bodybuilding?
A long time ago, like in my early 20s, I just graduated college and I was working with FEMA. And
Mm,
after we did our first contract year, I was restationed to Washington, D.C., and I started there when I was at the FBI for the first time. And I had a coach while I was there for the first 3 years. And then before the final competition, I ended up I pulled my hamstring, so I couldn't really walk. So, like,
wow.
being able to walk on stage is very important and, present yourself. So I
Yeah.
did not end up finishing it and I just stuck with weightlifting and doing general fitness stuff after that. So I never got back into it, but I have several
Mm,
friends here in Nashville that do it full time and they absolutely love it. So I can still, like, live vicariously through them.
yeah. How did you pull your hamstring?
How did I do it? Oh, it's embarrassing. In DC, they had, like, adult sports leagues and stuff, and so I had
Mhm.
joined a soccer league, and I was trying to play with people on the National Mall, and I injured myself trying to go for the ball.
That's great. The reason I ask is they say only real athletes pull your hamstring. Like there's a certain level of speed you have to have in order to
Mhm.
pull your
Yeah.
hamstring. So well done.
Yeah. Thank you. No, but at the time, I was so embarrassed and in so much pain, was just like, "Oh, man."
That's a
Like,
real injury.
this is wobbly and weird, but yeah, no,
Mhm.
in a past life is why I say that is because it was a long time ago, but I can respect someone that's dedicated to their sport and they're dedicated to manipulating their body in a specific way, because the one thing I've definitely learned over time is that no matter what kind of athlete you are, your body will do what you ask it to do, but you have to
Mhm.
fuel it correctly and you have to recover correctly, and the human body's absolutely fascinating, your wife included, for, like, to be the ability to grow a human and retract back and fix itself, and how certain organs can regenerate and clean themselves and all kinds of things. So it's
It's
super
amazing.
cool, but you have to be conscientious about what you put into it and how you take care of it. So I think that's really neat that you're spending your life's purpose now trying to make sure that Ohio is known for doing this exact thing. So I think that's amazing.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, you started in the basement. Of course, you don't make your products in your basement anymore. So I'm curious
Mhm.
kind of how that evolution of your business, how did that impact your life, your family's lives? Like, you started out at home and now it's kind of nationwide. So how how has the business's growth impacted you from where you started to where you are now?
Wow, that's a great question. I think I can tell that you respect athletics and training and you're in the FBI. I'm sure there's some type of fitness you have to go through for all that. And that's what I loved is the persistence that you have to have in fighting through pain of working out as an
Mhm.
athlete, or I want to, grow my shoulders. If I do enough
Yeah.
presses, they'll grow. I really love that. And when I look back over the past 4 years, there's been a lot of dark moments in the business where I've wanted to quit. But the persistence, that's the journey. And I didn't know it 2 years ago when I spilled pumpkin seeds all over my car and I was running late to get one of my kids. I would say that I've become more of a persistent person through that. And then my wife has been so patient with me. Like she says, when we finally got out the kitchen and making them, she said, "Well, we got our kitchen back now. This is great."
Yeah, thank you.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. I feel like I've been more persistent, and then I don't know. My mindset has always been like, let's just do it and get it done, and we'll figure it out. But I think it's good to have a vision, but to be a tactician and to know exactly what you're going to do, how a business is ran. I've grown in that, and I'm still learning a lot and have a lot to learn.
Your wife also interested in entrepreneurship, or was she in a different industry completely? I know you mentioned she was a former athlete, but did she go
Mhm.
into businesses as well like you, or she did something else?
She's a nurse. She's a caretaker. Yeah, she's a caretaker. She's a mom, a wife, and a nurse. She works at Children's Hospital in the pediatric intensive care unit. And yeah, she works 16 hours a week, but it gets her out the house, and she feels like God's called her to do that. But she's been, I would love for her to be the face of a brand and post about it and do all that. But she really likes to stay in the background. But she's been a huge help with everything that I'm doing in the business.
Well, that's wonderful, and
Hmm.
I'm sure it makes a huge difference to have a supportive partner,
Oh,
behind
yeah.
you, or she at least understands why it's so important for you to pursue something like this, and you showed her again and again, I'm sure. It's not just a hobby, I'm not just making this up, like, I think it could really go somewhere, and so I think that makes all the difference in the world when you have the right partner behind you, and so I'm curious, how does she support the business, or if she balances you out in any kind of way, how your relationship has benefited you throughout this process?
Yeah, I just see such a, sometimes I look at my wife, to be totally honest, and she's not here right now, but I feel so blessed to have her. Like, there's a scripture in the Bible, it says, if a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. And like, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life because I have erratic behavior. I kind of just, I'm impulsive, and I have these big ideas, and then I'll complain if things don't work out. She's never told me to quit anything. She's always encouraging. I just thought about this. She's always like, just keep going, you'll be fine. And maybe in the back of her head, she's telling me to quit, but she never has. And then she's helps me stay organized. She manages the calendar. She's taught me how to manage a calendar. She showed me how to be patient. And then also when we go to farmers markets or in the beginning of the business, we were meeting with stores, she would come along with me and talk and learn as much as possible. So people like talking to her a lot more than they like talking to me.
Oh, I'm sure they love talking to both of you. Um, but yeah, I know that my dad and my mom have always been entrepreneurs. They started their own software and graphic design kind of companies, and when Apple first opened their Mac products in Tennessee, my mom started a business where she was training other people on how to convert the uses of the 2 different types of computers and get them both to talk to each other, and, like, when people first learned what Excel was or Adobe products, they would call her, and so she hired my dad to help her with her business, and so they've worked together for almost 36 years probably at this point, back and forth, based on different businesses throughout their years, and now they flip houses and do Airbnbs together, so
And they're doing it together.
yeah.
No wonder you and your brother turned out so well.
Oh, well, thank you. She'll be very proud of that comment. So I always admire and love to learn from other couples that have been together for so long. Like your wife and you have seen each other through almost every evolution. Like you met in high school, then you went to college, you were athletes, you went pro, then you switched to entrepreneurship, which is not easy. You had 5 kids. Like you've become a different person. Each of you has become a different person each time, but you found a way
Yeah.
to stay connected and still grow. And I always find that to be so admirable and impressive. And so I love taking
Thank
tips
you.
and tricks from people like that.
Yeah. I mean, if I could give any advice, I mean, it's worked despite me, I would say. But I've learned not to sweat like little things, and I don't always have to be right. Our faith has a lot to do with it. It's 100% about it. And then I think we're friends, you know? People, I think, jump into just because you're attracted to someone, it means you got to sleep together or be in a relationship. And like, I think we really like each other
You're right.
and we make each other laugh. And even with the kids, like having 5 kids is a lot, I will admit. But being able to laugh at it,
Mhm.
those are the best times when the house is a mess and we just look at each other, shake our head.
Like, what did we do?
What do we do? And it's
Yeah.
great. I love it.
So I'm curious, since you've started multiple businesses yourself, what was the best business advice you ever received?
That is an excellent question. To surround yourself with people that are a lot smarter than you.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
one. Can I give you another one?
Of course.
Your subconscious matters so much in the words you say. And there was a man named Dwight Montgomery who told me never to use the word cheap. He says always say less expensive. And I've put that in it like we're not doing anything cheap. This is not cheaper, it's less expensive because cheap is bad.
Mhm.
It's worthless. You want to give your customers your best. And then also if you have an idea, you either mention it to somebody or you give them the product and you watch their eyebrows. And their eyebrows will determine how well they like the product or not.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
and if you give something, same thing, if you give something away to somebody, just give it to them. If you have a book idea, give it to 7 or 8 people, and if they never text you back about it, it's not good enough. You still have work to do. And that's what we did with the bars is we first gave them away to people, and then people started asking to order them, and that's how we started, making money.
Yeah. Basing it off of the honest feedback, right? Because I feel like if it was free, they can tell you, I don't feel bad. Like, I don't, they just gave it to me. I can tell them how I really feel or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's good. And I'm glad that they gave you legitimate feedback too, like something constructive that you could use. And how long did it take you to perfect your recipe? You don't have to tell us the exact recipe, but did it take a
Yeah.
couple iterations? Like, I'm assuming you didn't just pour it into a pot and magically it was perfect.
No, it took about, I would say 6 or 7 iterations, and even the cherry and the chocolate took a couple iterations too. You're taking me back. Those were crazy days. But yeah, it was a couple times before we really, really got it right, and we're still working on it.
Mhm. Do you have a new flavor that might be coming out, or are you working on any new flavors for the future?
Yeah, so we have a drink coming out. It's a hydration drink. So I don't know if you've seen probably all over the internet now, but microplastics are really hurting people
Yes, they are. I
really
think I
bad.
read a study that said the average person has the size of one takeaway spoon, like a plastic spoon, level of microplastics in their brain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad, and I think there's a way we can't just let it happen. So we have a real fruit hydration drink in a glass bottle that we're making for people. And then eventually we'll have a blueberry bar that comes out, and we're making a collagen, so higher protein version of these.
That's so much fun. And are you coming up with those yourself, or do you have like a product developer that you work with now that kind of helps you perfect those different recipes and ideas?
Yeah, so if I'm good at anything, it's taking the advice of surround yourself with people that are way smarter than you. And I have the ideas and I pitch them to the team that we built, and
Mhm.
they're able to develop the ideas.
That's really cool. What was a lesson that you kinda wish you had known before you started the So Strong food?
This is going to take a lot of money. So prepare yourself. And yeah, that's what I would say is to prepare. And then also just to stay as organized as possible. I think diluted focus gives you diluted results. And there's been some times where my focus has been way too diluted, where I wish I would have just focused in on one thing or one channel. But that's part of the journey. You have to earn the right to learn sometimes.
Yes. I like
Mhm.
that a lot. It's kinda how I feel right now. I still work full time, so this is my part-time fun gig.
Cool.
And
Excellent.
it's a lot. It's so much work where I'm constantly thinking about where I'm supposed to be posting and how often can I edit and can I afford editing yet from
Hmm.
to outsource a bit, and I'm not quite there yet to, like, the level that I want it to be at, so I've been, like, taking all these online courses or watching YouTube videos about how to get better at whatever it is that I'm doing, but it takes so much effort, and you're right. I'm sure diluted attention brings
Hmm.
diluted results, so I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible, but that's a really hard thing to learn, like, when do you get to the point where you know you need to, delegate? So that's
Hmm.
important.
Yeah, I think you have to earn the right to delegate unless you start off with a bunch of money or whatever it is.
Oh, but that's important though, because I feel like that it's the outlet that I really needed, right? Like, I wanted to do something creative, and I'm not doing something technically with my hands, but it feels like it's mine, it's my hands, it's my idea, it's my content, my pursuit of trying to build this network and everything, so it's I like to take ownership over that.
Yeah, I love your branding too.
Thank you.
It's
Yes,
really
that
cool.
that I did get into because I knew, number 1, I don't have graphic design experience, and that learning curve would take way too long, so I did pay for that. I did a photography session, got some headshots, and all of this added into the software, so that way it'll save me some time on the back end for certain
Yeah,
edits.
that's
Yeah, so
beautiful. I
I'm
love it.
learning it one step at a time, but thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I'm curious, you had so much success despite making mistakes throughout the process and perfecting your recipe, but bringing your family along with you to bring in this new perspective for Ohio to try and improve longevity for all the communities. So I'm curious, For other families that might be struggling or might be where you were 4 years ago, where you might be the head of the household, you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do next, and so I'm curious, what advice would you give to other families who could be struggling to thrive and they wanna find a better way forward the way that you did?
Mm, that's such a great question. I would say that kids spell love Time, time, and you'll never get it back. And yeah, you have to feed them, so you have to make a living and all that. But I think the goal is to live a life to where you can spend quality time with your kids. And I don't think quality time is traveling for, a gymnastics meet all the time and being there, running people back and forth for practice. I heard a quote a couple years ago that busy is the new stupid. And I think told that we have to work. We do have to work really hard, but there's a way to do it where we're not busy. I would say enjoying those moments with your kids, making them laugh, getting them off a screen. That's worth more than millions of dollars, in my opinion. And even to that point, Fred Rogers, who I have a lot of respect for, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, during his documentary, several people were interviewed individually, and they all said when you talk to him, he seemed like the most you seem like the most important person in the world when you talk to this guy, because he was able to practice being present and looking people in the eye. And I've had to work on that, putting my phone up at the dinner table, or maybe I'm going to be home 30 minutes later, or sacrifice a workout if I didn't get it done in the morning to go spend time with my kids. That's what I would say. And from a nutrition standpoint, kids love fruit and vegetables. I always joke around and say that, I'm sorry, fruit, not vegetables, fruit. They love fruit. Um, and I joke around and I say, everybody has to eat at least a pound of blueberries a day. And they're like, oh my gosh, daddy, but they eat them. And then I help my kids get to help me cook, or I've perfected how to cook a steak, and kids love red meat. And so help incorporating them in the kitchen, having funny things about eating competitions with kids. That's how you get them healthy. Get outside, get away from the screen, and being present with them. That's what I would say. That's helped me and my family.
I'm glad that you brought up the relationship with your daughters because you're right. They're only going to be exactly this little, this one time in your life. And so if you're distracted by doing a bunch of other things and you're not around as much, you miss that. And then you're going to blink and they'll be adults and you're kind of like, where did it go?
It's already happening.
I have no doubt. I'm glad that you mentioned that you incorporate them into this life as much as possible. So, what kind of lessons or legacy are you hoping to leave behind for them, like as they watch you, work through building your businesses, or if they're watching you, or they're actually working with you at the factory or where you guys are printing everything and engaging with the business? What are you hoping your daughters take from this experience?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I started the businesses. So I think the Western idea of family is, I would say, unbiblical. And if you're not a person of faith, I would say completely watered down. Where before the Industrial Revolution, people used to work together in the home. That's not to say that there weren't fights and people didn't get along, but you were with each other. And I see the previous generation. My grandmother, she passed away last April. She was 91. The way she communicated with her brothers and sisters, there was a depth to it. And the way she sat down and talked to me, there was a depth to it. I don't have data to show it, but you could just tell. And I'm sure you and several other people can look at the older generation and tell that they were a bit more engaged and had deeper relationships than the rest of us have now. And so I did start so strong. So it's like reaping and sowing. It's spelled SOW. Is I wanted this to be a legacy for my kids, something that we could do together, that they would have the option to do. And it's something that inspires them. And I'm in the same position. I create content that sometimes I scratch my head like, why did I do that? When I see my kids light up from it, it makes it all worth it. Because if it can inspire them to be creators and not just consumers, then it was well worth it.
Yeah, I think our mom used to joke that she would play NPR for us as a lullaby, like, or in the car because she was like, "No, you in this house, you have to learn how to think for yourself. Like, disagree with us all you want, but if you can
Mhm.
present your argument and articulate why you don't wanna do something, then we will
Wow.
consider it," like, just trying to encourage us to be free thinkers and critical,
That's
have
incredible.
critical thoughts and things like that, and not just accept everything for what it was. And
Hmm.
I know that that worked and it impacted my brother and I because I went to a public school in Nashville and then went off to college, and my brother was in a middle school and high school that was Church of Christ, so he had required chapel and Bible study that he had to take throughout that education period. And he used to get in trouble because he would ask questions in class and be like, well, I don't understand this. It's contradictory from this book to this book. How come
Mm,
this is
good for him.
happening, or things like that? And he was never, dismissive of the teacher, but learning to present your own argument, or at least ask a critical question without being dismissive of somebody else's beliefs, was really, really important. And I'm so glad that you find your own ways to integrate that with your daughters too, to help them feel like they can live an authentic life, a healthy life, and be successful if they should decide they want to be a part of this business with you. So I think that that's great. You have an open space for them to feel like they have the courage to be creative or do whatever it is that makes them happy. That's really important.
Yeah, that's awesome. But can I say something about your brother's experience?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been my experience that most people have had a negative experience with faith.
Hmm.
And it's disappointing because I think sometimes the best answer is I don't know the answer to this. you know? And so that when I see lost and found, it's like I've been very lost in my life and my faith is what's given me direction. But oftentimes it's been despite of what spiritual leaders have been telling me or what they've been directing me. And it just brings up a really good point that I think, with faith or what you're presenting to your kids, sometimes my biggest are when my kids ask me a question that I don't know the answer to, but it causes me to research if I really care. And it helps me to humble myself and say, I don't know, love.
Yeah, well, but we can figure it out. Yeah. He definitely, I don't think he had a bad experience by any means, but it helped him, I think, become even more secure in who he was and what he would be willing to accept and not accept throughout his life. And so I've always admired him for being able to establish those kinds of boundaries, or just be like, I don't believe that, and then just keep moving on. Like, not get bogged down by what somebody expects of him or thinks he should be doing. Like, he's living in a way that actually looks like alignment for him and makes sense for him. And so I love to hear that there are other people in the world that want to instill that same kind of confidence and self-awareness in their own kids and perpetuate that forward. So I think that's amazing. I do have a couple of like core questions that I always ask all the guests,
Yeah.
just to kind of bringing it back like you've done about the lost and found mission. So I'm curious, what do you want out of life, and have you found what you're looking for?
Wow. What do I want out of life? So I think we all act consistently with who we think we are, and we all have our different worldviews. And my worldview is a follower of a poor Jewish carpenter that died on a cross and was resurrected. I'm talking about Jesus. Even using that name, it kind of turns people away because they've had negative experiences, but it's changed my life. It's what I've built my life on. I was literally lost and I was found. And so my identity is found in him, and I want to reflect his image. So I want to be as generous, as patient, as kind, as loving as God's been towards me. And I think part of that is me being a father and being a parent. And some people say, well, I'm not a parent. I think all people are called to be parents. Like, Amanda, you don't have kids yet, but if my kids met you, you'd be very motherly to them. I guarantee it. Yeah. And so it's like we all have this responsibility in our community to be fathers and mothers of our communities and to be leaders. And ultimately, I want to bring beauty to the world. And that's what I think the kingdom of God is, bringing beauty into the world. Have I found it? Some days.
But I like asking that question just because it can change what you think your purpose is in your life. I've noticed I used to think it was just very straightforward. You're born into this world, you have this gift, you're supposed to find the gift and use it or utilize it. And the truth is, I feel like it's more so, it's much more malleable than that. And that
Yes.
your environment can change. Your gift does not, but your environment can change. And figuring out when you need to do that is okay. For me, not getting so bogged down or frustrated when that has to happen. What do I want out of life? And have I found it yet? I don't know if we'll ever find it, but pursuing what it is you truly want and desire, I think, is always just an interesting question to ask.
Yeah, I love that. Can I add something to that too? Is that I just learned this is you have a basic American literature is like the hero's journey. It's like he has a start and I go through some things, and at the end of it, I'm like, great. But I think the term is like actual literature. It's not linear. It's like all over the place. You have really bad times, and then you have really good times, and then bad. You never arrive. And I think that's how life is, where we have moments where we arrive. And it's often like, 3 steps forward, a step back, 3 steps forward, a step back. And media has tried to control what life really is, and it's not realistic, where you have good days and bad days. Do you think you'll ever arrive? No, we're constantly growing and getting better. That's the gift. That's the goal. If that makes sense, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, I think there's like a meme I've seen on in social media where it's like start and end, but the middle of the line, like you said, it's all messed up and squiggly, and like eventually comes out like this is what your life is actually like. This is what it actually looks like to grow. This is what it actually looks like to evolve and change. And it's extremely uncomfortable for a reason. And it's because it's not linear like that. Yeah. So, what would you say while you're on your crazy non-linear line? What has been your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement is my family, and it's a gift. It's like grace, but that's what I'm most my greatest achievement. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I love that. It's an excellent answer. How do you define success?
I always define success by overachieving. Yeah, I define success from overachieving, where you had 3 talents and you did a lot more with it than you had. And then success for me, it looks different day to day. Did my kid draw on the wall and I didn't scream at them? Um, you know, am I able to do something nice for somebody and not tell anybody about it? That I help, get somebody a job? And then it's like ego driven stuff, but I think that's good things too. Like, did I grow my business to $1 billion? Goals like that, that's successful. It's like day to day, it's that squiggly line. It looks different day to day. But I think if you can look back and people can say, Justin, Amanda, they were good people. They loved us. They cared about us. That's beneficial. My wife, if my wife and kids say, I love my dad and he's my best friend and I can always talk to him, that would be successful for me. This is like therapy. So to answer your question, success to me looks like if my wife, kids, and brothers can say, Justin is a loving, dependable man
Mhm.
who reflects Jesus, I would be happy.
Yeah, I'm sure that they do think so. I love that answer. And again, another one where it's always very different from each person, but I'm always curious what people would say. So as we kind of discussed, the theme of this show is for people that are feeling lost or they're in a really tough transition kind of period and they're feeling stuck. They don't really know where to go. They're not really sure how to stop disassociating from their own life, but they know they need to make a change, but they're not really sure where to go. What would you say is your advice for people that might be in that kind of position, and what would you tell them for how to make a change or where to start?
I would say number one, you're right where you need to be. Number two, this is where the beauty happens. And you might not see it now, but you're going to look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now and seeing how this shaped you into becoming the person that you're supposed to be. And I would say three, and I hope it's okay I say this, Amanda, I've been lost several times. My faith has carried me through. And this is a great time to pray, to read, to talk to people. And like I said, the poor Jewish carpenter that died on a cross has changed my life. Trust in him. he's he's and I don't know where people are at their faith journey or who's all listening to your show, but I hope that can be an encouragement because the Jesus has changed my life. I've been very lost before, and I've always seen his hands where there's been answers to prayer, where there's been learning, where I've had to fight through things. And I think that's what life is. That is life. There's a really good quote by Rick Pitino, the coach at St. John's. He's, old coach, but he was going off on this team in the locker room. I mean, he was going off. And it was so beautiful though, because he said, what's wrong with you? You act like little children. When something goes wrong, you just quit. That's when you are supposed to get tough. And he says, it's not just the game of basketball, it's the game of life. This is adversity. sign up for it. And they end up winning that game. And it was such a beautiful ripping because they're in the right place and you learn from it and grow.
Well, I like that sign off, this is adversity, sign up for it. Like, I hate that phrase that good things come to those who wait. It's kind of like, nah, man, good things come to the people that are you wait, sure, by being consistent and persistent in whatever it is you're pursuing. Like you're patient while the process is playing out, but just waiting around for it or hoping somebody will give it to you as a handout or you'll have a nepotism situation or something like that's just it's not guaranteed, and I don't feel like you get the same satisfaction out of working hard for whatever it is that you're trying to overcome when you're doing it yourself. Like that, it helps build confidence, it helps build resilience, it helps build, or fights off self-doubt, and you can reduce that imposter syndrome, when you repeat that habit over and over again, like, oh no, I do deserve to be here. I worked for it. Like I practiced this for the 10,000 hours. I became the expert.
But I love what you're doing is you're serving people because people really are that way. And what I see in media and podcasting, it's like, hey, bro, how can you 10x your whatever? But a lot of people are lost. And if they see stories, you're serving people. And if they hear stories about people that have been in tough spots like we all have, I think it's very encouraging. So I'm pulling for you.
Oh, well, thank you. It's very kind. I that is the ultimate goal, right? Like I wanted a database of how to get better and how to get to a more beneficial mental health kind of space, and I didn't know how to do it. So I was kind of like, well, I'm going to make it up myself. I don't know where this community is. So like
Yeah.
there was one episode I published recently where I was talking about what if the table you thought everybody talks about how to get a seat at the table, especially women in corporate, making sure you have a seat at the table so that way you can
Mhm.
participate or be heard. And when I
Right.
was in national security, making sure I had a seat at the table was sometimes life or death to save cases. I started to think recently, well, Amanda, what if the table I was trying to sit at for so long was not the table I was meant to sit at? What if the table I was meant to sit at was the one that I made? What if I
Mm.
created my own table and like this is the space that was supposed to happen? What if I built it, metaphorically, if I built my own table and allowed anybody that wanted to sit there, maybe that's really what I was trying to do the entire time.
Power.
I took the context the wrong way. And I mean, speaking of faith, I'm spiritual. I don't know. I've kind of fluctuated in and out of Christianity necessarily, but I've been multiple times where I've either had really vivid, like lucid dreams where I've had an angel talk to me, or I've had there's an episode I did for Halloween where I talked about when the devil has visited me in my room. Like I have the sleep paralysis and like the things that he has said and I shared it just to be like, hey, look, I don't know if this means anything to anybody else, but this is why I think I know what I'm doing, because he has only ever visited when I've really been at my lowest low. And I think it's that kind of temptation where it's kind of like, okay, he's now showing up in Nashville now because I think he's trying to get at me again because I'm getting closer and closer to what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, the enemy only bothers people that have a purpose and
And
have a
that's what
good
my
kind heart.
grandmother said. Yeah. I don't know if this makes any sense. I don't know if I'm going to lose followers for talking about this, but like this is the epiphany that I had because of this dream. Whether or not I'm interpreting it correctly, I don't know, but I wanted to share. And it's been one of those where I've always been told by other prophetic people, and it's the same message, all different people, all different churches. There's no reason any of them should have known me or known each other. And they've all
Mhm.
given me the same message of you have a gift of discernment and you're supposed to be using it to help protect other people, or at least show them the way. And it's kind of like, well, I don't really know what that means, but cool. And when you're a teenage girl, you're kind of like, what? Like,
Yeah.
what does this mean? So I
Mhm.
don't know, but it's been a profound experience to do this podcast, mostly for my own sake, because I realized like I was at a really low and I needed to talk about it. And I said this last night to a friend that like I started the show. I don't know why that day in October was just like the day that I needed to turn it on and record and do it.
This past October?
October 2023. So
Okay, gotcha.
it'll
2
be 2
years.
years in this fall. But that day I told myself, if you don't do something to help
Mhm.
yourself, you'll die. Like what
Mhm.
the metaphorical you, what remains of your identity, what remains of who you are as a person will die. And it's kind of like you can't risk that. You can't
Yeah.
risk that. You got to do something. So that's kind of where I started out. Was not usually most people on the podcast talk about like, you know, their worst day of their life, but kind of like that was the whole purpose of the show, really, was for me to, I'm climbing out of a hole. And if you want to come with me, come with me. And I'm going to try and find people. I want to try and find people that I can connect with on the show, but they are being used to connect for the listener. So like, I didn't have the database or the background or the network of people that I wanted to follow that I kind of believed, because you're right. A lot of the gurus that are out there are telling you like how to level up your life, but you have to buy into whatever program they're selling or their life coach books or whatever. And like, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock somebody for building a multiple revenue streams. That's not, do what you got to do,
Mhm.
man. Like go for it. But profiting off of other people's chaos, I've never liked. And so I wanted to find a way that like, I want to be helpful, but also not make it about that. You know, if you're
Yeah.
in this or you're listening to the show, like it's purely because nobody should ever feel the way that I felt. And I would
Mm.
rather spend the rest of my life making sure nobody ever does.
That's awesome, man. Well, my experience of you is it's like you're very courageous. It takes a lot to be vulnerable
Mm. Well,
and
thank you.
talk about your worst moments, and then the fact that you're in the FBI and work for FEMA, that shows you have. I was going to say that you have balls, but you're just a very strong person, and I think it's amazing what you're able to do, and I'm pulling for you, and you have a listener now.
Oh, well, thank you. You're welcome back anytime. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. If any listeners wanted to catch up with you though, or find you, you know, anywhere else or work with you, what's the best way to contact you or keep up with all the projects you're doing?
Yeah. So I then go to our website, sowstrongfood.com, SOW strongfood.com. And on Instagram, my name is Justin Kershaw with an S. And they could check out what we're doing now. But we have really cool products coming out. The new bites, the hydration drink that I'm really excited about.
Excellent. Oh, that's so exciting. I can't wait to try it all. I think it all sounds delicious. And I get to brag to all my friends now and be like, I know who made this. Like, here, try it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Make sure you send me your address, Amanda,
I
please.
will. I will
Yeah.
follow up with you after we record. But everybody, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, leave a review. All of Justin's info will be added to the show notes inside of the description for wherever you're watching, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Hit that up. You can always find me at hello@podcastforlost.com. My Instagram and TikTok will also be in the show notes. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.